Barney Ross, you made me a deal. You said after you reviewed Expendables 1 that you would have a review for Expendables 2. Well, time's up. It's time for that review, Barney. What have you been waiting for? It's been 2 years since you reviewed the first movie. Go and review it right now. So, hey, everybody. That was Mr. Church yelling at me a second ago. So, if you didn't catch that, that was supposed to be kind of my little homage skit to the Expendables 2, which I just saw recently. And I even have the same shades that I had on when I reviewed Expendables 1, back even when I first started making videos. That was actually one of my first videos I made both for Facebook and YouTube. But anyway, guys, I just saw Expendables 2, so it's fresh in my mind just in time for this review. And so Expendables 2, you guys, storyline-wise, the Expendables are back, and this time they actually have new members, and this time they also have new enemies. And this time around, they are trying to stop a group of criminals who want to have this group of plutonium in their possession. And because this plutonium is so dangerous, they could do a lot of harmful things to the Earth if they have a hold of this element. Also, they have all of these people from this town as kind of like their slaves for digging up this plutonium in this cave. And so it's up to the Expendables and Mr. Church, who assigned them the project, to go out to this country and make sure the plutonium does not get in the wrong hands. And the leader of this group, his name is Vilain, and he's played by Jean Claude Van Damme, who's one of the new villainous Expendables. So that's about as much as I want to give away for plot, because I don't want to ruin it for those who haven't seen the film. But I do have also quite a few positives and negatives to say about the film, too. First and foremost, guys, if you're in this movie to see some great action, some great 80s homages, you know, all these action heroes doing what they do best, you're going to love this film, especially the finale scene where Stallone and his gang are trying to fight off these people in kind of like this mall-looking area. And you get to see Stallone and Jean-Claude Van Damme duke it out near the end. It's just very fun to see. You get to see Bruce Willis and Schwarzenegger in action again. You can see Chuck Norris in action this time around. So the finale scene alone, this, guys, is worth the admission ticket. It's a very well done action sequence. And the rest of the film is very good, but I'm going to get to more detail about that later. Like I said, the 80s homages are so great in this. If you're looking for, you know, like B.A. Baracus references, John Rambo references, Terminator references, Chuck Norris references, it's all in this film. Almost every single one of those things I just mentioned is somehow homaged or mentioned at some point throughout this film. I thought the fighting choreography was very good this time around. In the first film, it was, for the most part, pretty impressive fighting choreography, but this time you could really tell they went in and really planned out how these fighting sequences were going to turn out whenever it was fist to fist or gun to gun. Very impressive fighting choreography in this film. Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme were both very good in this. I loved every single second of the film where the two of them were involved in it in some way. Chuck Norris alone, it was great to see him in this, and the way he's kind of told in myth and through humor. All of that was homaged in this. It was very well done whenever he was in here. And it was great to see Jean-Claude Van Damme be a part of something good, for being a part of in kind of this long period of time where he was in nothing but bad movies, you know, after Street Fighter and everything. It was great to see him in a great role, and actually he's a very good villain. I was very shocked by how good of a villain he was in this film. Trench, who was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first film, and he plays him again in this film, and Mr. Church, who's played by Bruce Willis. Both of those two characters get a lot more to do in this film. So if you're one of those people who were complaining that Bruce Willis and Schwarzenegger had very little screen time in the first film, believe me when I say that this film makes up for that. They're given a lot more to do. They're actually a part of the action this time. If you liked the humor they had in the first film, that's back again too. So if you love Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're not going to be disappointed in this. They get a lot more to do, and their jokes are very effective when they are given opportunity for humor. There's a new female expendable this time. Her name is Maggie. And from what I know, I think this actress was in some films either in Japan or China somewhere. And she's kind of one of those independent stars that's well known from those. And I thought she was very good. At first I was kind of iffy about a female expendable. You know, if they did want to use one, I thought, why aren't they using, you know, someone like Kate Beckinsale, Jessica Alba, Scarlett Johansson, you know, someone we actually seen in action before. But I thought this girl was very good. It was one of those things where she wasn't, sex appeal completely. She wasn't, a female Chuck Norris by any means, but she was very intelligent, very fun to watch in this. A very nice addition to the Expendables team in this movie. I also felt there were scenes in here that were more dramatic than the first Expendables. Like you really got the impression, like, oh my god, they just did this. Or if you feel happier, you'll feel even more happier throughout the film on the scenes that are meant to be happier. The scenes that are meant to be darker feel more darker. So dramatically, this film is a little bit more. It's a little bit better dramatically than the first film was in some ways. Um, like I said, Jean Claude Van Damme as a villain was very good. I was very impressed with his performance in this film. I'm kind of borderline because you'll see when I get to the negatives here. Rather, this film had a better plot than the first film. Um, it wasn't a bad plot at all. I'm not saying it's even a better plot than the first film, but I will say it is a reasonable plot. And like I said, I really couldn't decide if it's better or worse, but it is a good plot. So if you're looking for a good plot with the Expendables, you probably won't be disappointed in this film. Um, Stallone's and Jason Statham's role reprisal in this was very good. The Barney Ross I remember from the first film was very good in this film too. And just like Jason Statham as Lee Christmas, I got the same Lee Christmas that I felt I got from the first film. 80s feeling wise, I liked how this film felt like an 80s film, with the ending sequence, kind of with the sunset, and, and everybody shaking hands and going their ways with the rest of their lives and everything. It definitely had an 80s feeling to it, and I really respect that. The whole thing with the lead character talking to the female character that was very attractive at the end, that felt very effective to me too. So it just feels like something that you're watching from the 80s, and if Simon West wanted to get that impression, I certainly felt that, especially toward the end of this film. Um, Now on to the negatives, guys. I felt Jet Li, Chuck Norris, and Randy Couture were underused in this, and that's really too bad because whenever Chuck Norris entered the screen, you guys, I felt the screen lit up. I was more excited than when he was not on screen. Um, Chuck Norris was a very good character. His name was Booker in this. I think it was a homage to a character he played at one point in the 80s or 90s. And it was really too bad that he only got about 15 minutes of screen time or less. Jet Li was another character that was barely seen in the film. I think you only see him for about the first 20 or 25 minutes. And Randy Couture, even though you see him frequently throughout the film, he's not given a lot to do, unfortunately. And even though he got the whole cauliflower ear speech from the first film, I really wish something like that could have happened in this film to make him feel like he was more involved with the project. Um, the film cheats at times. There's a sequence in here where the Expendables need to go back to their plane so they can do better in the fight that they're in near the beginning of the film, and they get it within like 2 seconds or something like that. Like really, realistically, it would take them much longer than that to go back and get the plane. And if you've seen the first Expendables, if they ever ran into situations like that, they would show like maybe an Eric Roberts sequence where they're building upon the villain some more, or they're building upon something happening back at home, like with Jason Statham's girlfriend or whatever. In this film, unfortunately, they don't do that in order to make up those gaps for the Expendables to go do that thing that they need to get. I felt like they kind of cheated and kind of, unrealistically went back and got it. So there were some scenes in here where I really wish that they didn't cheat so much. Some characters seem underdeveloped, misused, or feel too different from the first film. I felt this way with Gunnar, Dolph Lundgren's character. I didn't like how he was all of a sudden this guy who can understand every math and science equation. They were talking about like he was like this chemical engineer or something at some point. It just felt like a completely different Gunner from the first film, and I really liked the Gunner they used from the first film better than the one I saw here. Even though Gunner did get his moments of glory, specifically with the action scenes and the scenes that were meant to be funny with him, I just didn't like the fact that he was all of a sudden this really intelligent character from the group. It just felt way too different. Another character I didn't like in this was Jason Statham's girlfriend. In the first film, she was cheating on a guy, and they hint toward that in this film, but they don't really. You see her for about 5 minutes in here, and then they completely abandon her throughout the rest of the film. Even though you see Jason Statham talking around the phone, it just didn't feel like enough. It felt like they kind of abandoned that idea and didn't do a lot with it. So I really wish Stallone and his partner writer in this did more with that in the film. Um, there was some absent action. at certain points. Like, let's say, the beginning scene happens, then about the next 30, 40 minutes is storyline, which is fine, but I really wish they could have had something more action oriented tied in with that. Um, the opening scene I felt was too rushed. In the sense that it's cool, kind of like the whole Dark Knight feeling where they jump right into the action, and then after that action scene, they start building on the story. I'm cool with that, but I felt they jumped into that a little bit too quickly in this film. Um, I really wish they did something that kind of made the Expendables, feel like the Expendables were needed in the situation some more. Kind of like what the first film did with the hostages. I really wish they did something along that line with this film because I really wish that, because the action scene I saw here in this beginning opening scene here, um, it felt something like from a different film, and I didn't like that feeling. It's cool that they wanted to aim for something original, but it didn't feel like something I'd seen in an Expendables movie. Overall, guys, I would have to say Expendables 1 is slightly better for the simple reason that the action and the storyline felt more married than this film did. Like, in this film, it had an unhealthy balance of action scene story, action scene story, action scene story. And with the first film, I felt when the story had to be told and it needed action at the same time, it felt more blended in with each other. And so I guess that's one thing I felt Expendables 2 didn't do as well as the first film. And overall, I just had more fun watching the first film, even though this film had definitely its moments of glory and more action stars to gaze our eyes upon. Um, I think the first one was a little bit better in that sense. But there is a lot of fun here to be had in Expendables 2, you guys. I would highly recommend this film. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Another character that actually didn't show up in here, too, though, and I really wish they did because I really liked this character in the first film, was Tool, who was played by Mickey Rourke. Didn't appear in the film, never went to Tool's garage in this film. They went to this bar, and that's where the whole Jason Statham and the girlfriend thing happened again. Um, I really wish Tool came back for this. I thought he was a fun character, fun guy to listen to. I loved his war stories that he talked with Stallone in the first one. I thought that was very effective, especially when he started crying when he said that he could have saved the girl and everything. So I really wish Mickey Rourke really could have taken some time out of his schedule to be a part of this film, even if it was minor. Because unfortunately we never get to see him in this movie. But overall, guys, I give the Expendables 2 an 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, it was great to see like Chuck Norris and Jean Claude Van Damme and all those great guys be a part of an action movie again. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching this film, but like I said, I had a little bit more fun watching the first Expendables film. So 8.5 out of 10 for me, you guys. And hopefully I'll see you here for the next movie review or video that I post.